Hell yeah, dude. Tom DeLonge. Always an artist that I will always play, especially on my channel. God. Angels and Airwaves. I actually hope he still makes another album with them, even rejoining Blink. We will see. Until then, yeah, dude, he's the UFO one, dude. He exposed stuff, and the government, talked to him about, how do you know these things about aliens, dude? Oh yeah, it's happening. The invasion.
What the hell are you talking about, Raven? UFOs?
Bro, we're in space.
Oh yeah, there's UFOs up here.
See, Game Genie confirmed it, dude. You know? Oh, I do love this song, though. Have you seen this video? It's so good. Losing my mind? This song is definitely an anthem for me today. Good God. Can I be the one to say this? I'm sure everybody says it, especially if you work for them. Fuck corporations, bro. People are expendable to their eyes, even when they're not. That's all I gotta fucking say, dude. Game Genie, you take it away.
Yeah, fuck capitalism, hell yeah. Fapitalism. Alright, yeah, anyway. Chat, we got a good show for you today. Raven is gonna be playing some Fortnite with Godzilla and Miku. That's right. Miku something. Whatever her name is. Anime character, singer. Yeah, we're playing Fortnite. Ha! Well, I'm not. I don't want to play this game. It's for babies. Anyway, he's going to be joined with Miklo Wow, and they're going to do their normal routine of being, insanity boys, doing weird stuff with their shark shoes and all that good stuff. Should be a good show. So, let's get to it, and I'll give you back to Raven.
Kim Genie, you're such a goober, dude. He said hoo-ha at the end of that. Air biscuits for everybody. Bronny Fanta, how you doing? Chris, how you doing? Joelle. Anybody else that's lurking about, welcome to the stream. As Game Genie says, we're playing Fortnite. I've got me saying it now, dude. I gotta boot into the game, so let's go ahead and do this, because we probably get a video and all that good stuff. Oh, I hope everybody's day was good. Hope you didn't have to deal with too much bullshit. Dude, does D&D dice not work in here? It should. Yeah, it is. It does. Look, we can roll on here too. Woo! Oh yeah, maybe. I thought you could still do that though. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't have the energy to stream this week. Work was busy. I was looking forward to Friday though. Looking forward to Friday. Absolutely. Cookie and I are staying in for the weekend, so it's going to be a pretty chill one. You might see me on stream at some point. We'll see. I don't know yet. If I decide to, I'll let you guys know on the Discord and all that good stuff. Freedom! Freedom. I guess there's no video. We got this though. Look at this. Godzilla! I'm so excited, man. I gotta unlock him this stream. I gotta unlock him. It's my destiny. Let's get Mick up in here. Discord. There we go. Hi, Mick. It wouldn't let me drag you into the party. Dude. You absolutely look lovely. Are you muted? I can't hear Mick. Is it on my end? No. It's on Mick's end. That's weird. Mick, are you gonna fix your mic? I wonder if you can hear me. Mick! Oh, I think I turned down the music. That's what I did. Yeah. Mick! You know what it's time for. You know what it's time for.
I think it's working now.
Yeah, you're working, dude.
Oh, okay. I think I can now.
Yeah, you're working. Oh, I hear myself. That's weird. Everybody say hi to Mick. Mick, say hi to everybody. We got Freedom Smog here. Mr. Joel and Chris. Any Yeti? I don't know. There's no Yeti in there. Dude, do you want to start out with a ranked match or do you want a normal match? Oh god! Wonder if that's copyrighted.
I don't know.
Oh, cutting it off right there, buddy.
It's not a song. It's just. I think it's just a piece from a song.
Well, that'll get you, you know? I'm joking. I don't care. Did you see that you can use instruments as pickaxes now?
I did see that.
I am now wielding a bat guitar.
Put on my shark shoes.
Yeah, you better put on your shark shoes. Because we unlocking Godzilla. Actually, let's go ahead and just knock out quest. I don't want to care about ranked right now.
That's fine.
Did you already unlock your spear?
Yeah, I'm done with ranked.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's okay.
Spear.
We don't ever need to touch ranked again. Ever. All right. Until next season. It's a bat bass. Oh, is that wait, it's not I think it could be a bass too, but it's a bat guitar. Oh wait, no, it is a bass. Huh. It is a bat bass. It has 4 strings on it. I didn't even know that. Then why the hell was my character playing the guitar on it? That's what I want to know.
Because your character is a rebel.
Like, there needs to be more strings on that, you know? You did know a music thing. Good job. It's a bass guitar. Actually, Raven, it's a bass guitar. Well, how was your day, dude?
Not too bad. Fixing bugs and working on our next update.
Nice. I'm not going to talk about my work day, but if you want to, you can watch the beginning of the stream and you'll hear all about it. There's a new area, right?
There's 2 new areas, yeah. But
Let's do it. It's gonna be sweaty. I just want that marker. Oh yeah,
crown. You better protect it.
You got another crown, dude. Gosh.
You wanna know how I got a crown? I won a rank match in Diamond 2, and I don't know how I did it.
Did you?
Yep.
Wow.
It was sweaty.
Yeah, Joel, Mariah Carey's in the game. That reminds me, I need to mute copyrighted sounds.
Oh yeah, she's gone from the. Well, she's gone as an NPC.
She'll be back next Christmas.
Yeah.
She'll be back next
likely.
Christmas. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the back area of this factory. Is this a pickle place, dude?
It's a pickle farm now.
Kappa, Kappa Pickle Co? Dude, Kappa. All right. I love that.
It used to be a cucumber farm,
Yeah.
but it wasn't POI at the time. I drove through it at one point.
There's people coming.
I noticed. Hopefully it's just bots.
Me too.
I need more ammo or something. There's some barrels right here.
I'm good. Go ahead and get them.
Here.
They're all yours.
You don't need 'em?
What's up?
Oh, you said you were good.
Oh no, I'm not fighting anybody right now. Someone else is fighting though.
Yes.
Oh, it's you.
No, I'm not fighting anything.
That guy was chasing you though.
Well.
His buddy's somewhere around here. Alright, there's some like quest over here or something. Oh dude, there's some movement over here.
Yeah, I've done the first set of Godzilla quests, so... And I've already finished my festival pass,
Dude, you're rude.
so... not my fault.
What? Did you not even work today?
No, I did this, the festival pass has been out since Tuesday.
Oh, the Godzilla one?
No,
Oh,
the
the festival. Oh, I didn't hear festival. Okay.
Yeah. No, I did do some Godzilla stuff. I logged into Lego and just put my character AFK.
Mick counts Fortnite as research for work. He does.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
He's learning about video games and how they operate. Duh.
Exactly.
You know?
You know? I'm working on player retention. Yeah, that's it.
That's how you do it. Man, I want a remote job. God. Makes sense a bad example though. You shouldn't be playing video games at work. I'm just saying. But you should totally do it.
It's literally my job.
That's true too. That's the only job you can get away with doing that probably. Dude, what is this? Is this weed? Oh no, it's pickles.
Let's see here.
See where my fucking mind is. Oh bro, is this pickle kush? Whoa. That's like amazing.
Okay. You have quests to do or whatever, so I'll just kind of follow you wherever you need to go for quest.
Are you smoking a pickle, Mick?
Yes.
He's smoking a pickle, chat. Oh.
Smoked pickle. Is that an invisible wall right there? Wow.
Oh, that was a happy chest. How you looking on loot?
I mean, I could always use more ammo, but I'm willing to.
I want to go here. So was there an event for like Godzilla like crashing through the map or something?
No.
Oh.
We're not getting a Godzilla. He hasn't spawned this map.
Oh.
He already spawned if he was gonna spawn.
Oh, so he does spawn on maps. Okay. So it's like different matches you get them. Or am I misreading this whole thing?
So what actually will happen is at the start, pretty much within the first one or two storm circles, if Godzilla is going to spawn, a rift will appear, and the first player that goes through the rift becomes Godzilla.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
And everybody else gets the ability to...
Oh shit, we gotta go. Here, get in.
Can't you believe you just ran over Miku?
Whoa, buddy.
Showed up.
Hey, we got a person on us. They look a little thirsty. I got a plan. Do you trust me?
Nope.
Get into the jump pad.
What jump pad? Oh.
It's right in front of you. There you go. I was hoping the car would have hit it and it just stopped dead, dude. I'm over here.
I'm going for this car here.
Hell yeah, pickle weed.
Um,
Oh shit, they're chasing you?
yeah,
oh.
well, they're not gonna be able to get me.
Are you in a car right now?
I'm in a car.
Pick me up.
Anyways, once you become
Go, 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 go.
Godzilla, the other players have a chance to beat you up, and if whoever successfully does the most damage will
Go,
gain
go.
Godzilla's medallion.
Oh, okay. So we'll probably get to see that. I don't really. Oh god.
This map because let's get the new car.
Yeah. They're chasing us. They're fully chasing us. Go, go, go. Rotate this way.
So, but he'll always, the rift will spawn at the very start of the map.
Gotcha. Freedom, have you been playing Fortnite at all, dude?
And supposedly Kong can jump from the battle bus as well. If Kong jumps from the battle bus, then Godzilla is guaranteed to spawn.
Oh, okay. This all sounds amazing, and I need to see it happen, you know?
Yeah. I haven't played a match yet, so I've not seen it. This is just all info that I have gathered.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. I forgot about that. I remember seeing a couple pictures on Instagram.
Where are we in relation to
Lost Lake.
our normal landing zone?
Lost Lake, or we could go over this way. Oh, good night, dude.
Oh, blue chest. Anything good? Ani mask.
I don't know, but those guys are over there.
Oh, right in front of us.
Oh, calm down. I didn't know we were fighting them. I stayed in the car.
Well, the car was blowing up, so.
Oh. Well, that was
They blew up the car.
that was a great match. 10 out of 10. Oh. Godzilla Raven. Yeah. Oh, they changed up the quest thing.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay, I got a quest here. Oh, we have another story quest. Did you already do that?
I haven't because my story quest is broken. A few people can't access their story quest.
Huh.
Like the option to even view them is gone.
That's weird.
So.
Hey, they fixed mine or something.
Well, I don't think it's everybody.
I didn't even see one for the past few weeks, so maybe that was me too.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I don't have them right now.
Let's go ahead and do this while I'm thinking about it. Oh, you can move while doing it. Oh, this is great.
Yeah, it's traversal.
Me Godzilla! Me smash! Yeah, let's go over to my quest marker. Or the blue. Well, okay, what do you think they're gonna put in Fortnite next? This is an open question to anybody. We've seen some crazy shit already.
Well, this is Japan's chapter, so
Yeah. I'm guessing we're still gonna have some Japanese themed stuff for next season. And there was already Demon Slayer leaks already, so I'm guessing we're gonna get like something for that. But like past what we already know, like what else could they do? They put fucking Mariah Carey in the game, you know? I don't think Sonic's been in the game. Probably. That would be a good pair up, wouldn't it? Just because all the hype around it.
I don't know. Could you imagine Sonic in a Fortnite model?
It's just a dude in a Sonic onesie.
Yeah, that'd probably be the only way they could make him work.
I mean, they made Godzilla work too.
Yeah, but Godzilla, they just had to shrink down. And he's very bulky.
Oh, this isn't part of the Godzilla story, is it?
I don't remember what part this one is.
Oh, it is. Kaiju beacons. There was really nothing here, huh?
No, not really. Just in this little tower where there's all sorts of loot.
Yeah. What was up here, huh, Mick?
I don't know.
What was up here?
There was nothing.
It was
Clearly.
good. It was good stuff. Oh God.
No.
Oh, they didn't engage with me. That's cool.
Oh no, I think they only engage if you attack them.
Quest. What else do I have? Airborne. Where's the last beacon? Oh, the last beacon's way out there. Shelter signs. So like over here, I guess. Oops, over here. All right. Where do you want to go? Rotate towards?
Where you need to go for your next quest?
Let's see if there's any cars on the bridge, maybe. Yeah, let's do that.
You didn't even take the mini I threw for you.
Oh shit. My bad. I didn't even know you had any. I got a full pot, but...
Oh, Godzilla's spawning. Where is it pinged on the map? Oh, it's way over there near Lost Lake.
Let's find a car. Let's take this jump pad this way. Towards the gas station.
There's one on the other side of the bridge.
There's a gas station right here. I got it.
Is there a car there?
GTA 6 with Fortnite? You know what? I wouldn't put it past them for partnering with that.
Okay, somebody already went into the portal, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, that's way on the other side of the map. So Godzilla is coming in. We have to try to damage him.
Is the whole server...
Everybody on the map gets to damage him.
Does it do like that thing where people can't kill us, or can we still get in trouble, like with fights?
Yeah, you can still get killed by fighting them.
Show me Godzilla! I don't care about the quest. Let's go kill Godzilla. This is our time.
Yeah, I want to at least see how big he is on the map. See the little
Oh, there he is.
thing playing. Oh, there he is. And of course, Godzilla can kill us, so.
Oh yeah, but that's part of the fun. Oh man. Okay, gotta get closer.
It's so tiny. Let's go see if we get killed. Driving by them.
Still can't get any pings on him.
Oh, he's already been damaged halfway.
What happens if you win?
Yeah, like I said, whoever does the most damage gets his medallion.
Oh shit, okay. Oh, I'm getting shot. I'm down.
Oh, you jumped out.
Yeah.
Since you were still in the car.
No, I was fighting Godzilla. I got excited, dude.
There's like crates dropping around him that let us fight him.
Oh, dude. Need that gun. There's a duo team somewhere. Oh, dude, you might be able to get this.
No. He's already taken way more damage than me. Than what I'm gonna be able to do to him. Yeah, number one, you can see on the damage meter. Well,
I
see the damage meter.
Yeah.
Oh crap! Godzilla, don't shoot me!
Holy shit, he
Oh, someone just killed
digitized.
him.
That was awesome.
Alright, where's your card?
I don't
I see
know.
it now.
Yeah, Chris is right. I chose my own adventure. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I don't know what the Godzilla card lets you do. I think we're rebooting back there, so I'm getting out of here.
To jump out of a car, turn to page 60 nice. 60 nice.
Yeah, I kind of expected though, you know, that you would jump out and try to fight Godzilla hand to hand.
Dude, me and Godzilla go way back. We actually went to college together. I don't know if you knew this. Can I have that gray AR?
No.
Fucking rude. That's right, Bronny. Ooh, there's fucking weapons here.
Yeah, there's some stuff here too.
Alright, I need some gear.
Okay, we need to take you somewhere then.
Let's go to the
How about-
gas station. Oh, there are circles there, never mind. How about over there?
Yeah, that's probably Godzilla's. We can go to pump power. How about that?
Sure.
Oh, this car's about to run out of gas.
Ooh, here we go. Hold on, I'm jumping out.
Well, at least you told me this time.
Yeah.
My car is pretty much out of gas, so
Yeah,
we're gonna have to hoof it.
oh, thank you for the clip. If you can throw it in the Discord, I had to restrict links again because the bots on Twitch are so fucking bad. I need to create a bot that does a whitelisting one again. Yeah, 0 fuel. I'm surprised they haven't allowed you to carry fuel cans again. I missed that.
Well, there's no real gas pumps anymore, so
Yeah.
at least not right now.
Oh yeah, that's true. We're playing eco-friendly Fortnite, I forgot.
Yep.
All the cars are EV.
Oh, there's a water spirit if I get to it. Oh wait, I had some minis. How? Get minis. Here, take these minis. Let me see if I can grab this water spirit if it's gonna run from.
I'm gonna pick him back up too.
Yeah, once he gets you.
I got room for him too. Okay.
Oh, I got him. Yeah.
Let's see if there's anything over here real quick.
Yeah, it looks like some ammo and stuff. We got the circle at boxcars. So they're right next to us.
Yeah. You got room for that? Or you want me to grab it?
You can grab it. Yep, back here.
Shotgun.
Yep.
Alright. You got enough,
Don't wanna-
do you have decent gear?
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, it's okay. We could use some movement, so...
Yeah, that's what I'm
like to
lacking.
find a sword.
Let's go to the... Oh, you good? Were those shots at you?
I don't know.
Okay.
If they were, they didn't hit me.
I think we have a team behind us. Yeah, it's the circle.
No, they're not following us. I don't think.
I think that's where the shots are coming from. We'll see. Let me see if there's any loot. I need some ammo.
Yeah, no, that's why we came here.
Yeah.
I was just kind of looking around to see where else we could go. Oh, there's some footsteps here.
Yeah.
One down. He was a solo. He died.
Holy shit.
instantly.
Yeah. That's a good trade out. That's fine. When I get the bass out, it makes little bassy sounds.
No, when you're using it.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, good. There's a sports car up here too.
Let's do it to it.
I would really like a sword though. Lloyd mask.
Let's go ahead and rotate. Those circles are coming in. Yeah, they're fighting somebody else, but I want to go to a better area.
Yeah. Yeah, we still can make it to the Demon Dojo. They're not, still within the circle.
Boss dead?
The Demon Boss is still up, but... And so is the, boss on the island, but Godzilla Medallion's going towards it.
Hmm. I'll leave it right here. Yeah, no one's got the boss, huh? I got footsteps. Oh, it's these guys.
Yeah, it's like, I got footsteps too. But yeah, it's the little demon dudes.
We got 40 seconds to kill this boss. I don't think it's worth it. We're gonna waste more ammo doing this.
Yeah, it's fine. Just looking around and wanted to see if I could find a sword or something.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think there's one inside the boss room.
I opened one,
Yeah.
one
we got 6
special
seconds.
chest and there was nothing. All right, I'm good.
Yeah, I guess we have to head down.
Go for it. I trust you with my car. I know. Oh, I was gonna say you're about to scratch it, but you did. Wow. Is it
Yeah,
making
you
your
scratch
face
it,
sounds?
it's okay. I scratch it.
Dude, my coworker comes up to me today. She goes, because it's like hella windy right now, right? And she goes, "Oh my god, I hit your car." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "With my door." I was like, "Oh." Because the wind blew it, and it tapped it, and I was like, that's fine. And I was like, "Was there a mark?" She goes, I don't think I saw one or anything." I was like, "Okay, I don't care." You know, like, I do care, but at the same time, I was like, "Eh, oh, you want me to drive?"
Yeah.
All right. But she was so concerned. We went outside and we looked, and it was just like a little bit of paint from her car on mine. And I was like, "Oh, that's fine. It's all good." Some of the newer cars are pretty durable, and like a door hits it or something, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we could fuel up at the gas station.
Oh shit, yeah.
There.
There's... Oh, you jumped out? All right.
They're knocked. Oh, my audio's stuck. Like, okay.
I don't know where his buddy
I don't
is.
know where the partner is. Yeah.
Here.
There is a purple AR right here.
Is there?
Follow. Yeah, it's on the steps.
Oh yeah, baby. Here. Let's rotate to a higher area.
Do you have anything else, or is that it?
I think that's
Any
it.
movement? No swords, found no movement. Okay.
Our car is gonna be our best chance for this,
Yeah.
just since we don't have movement. I haven't found shit either, so.
There's the Godzilla team and then another team.
Strategery? It's not good to lit.
Oh, sword.
There you go.
Well, some movement. Might give me a chance. I don't even know what the Godzilla. What are you doing?
I'm trying to destroy the staircase and it's not working.
Oh, where'd you go? Ah, wait for me.
You
I got
jumped
out to destroy the railing.
Oh. I just shimmied my way.
Dude, I'm like, you know, we can just pop out.
All right.
We don't have to move yet.
Oh, so cute.
Where are they? Are they over there at the gas station fighting?
Probably. I don't know. What do you want to do?
For now, we'll probably wait here. Oh, right down there to our right. You see him? Right over there. Oops. I have the wrong gun equipped.
Oh, get in. Get in. Oh.
Oh, go. Under the bridge.
They kind of suck.
Yeah, they kind of did. But I don't think they're the ones with the medallion. I think it's the team, other team over here.
Hold on to your butts.
Yeah, we want to. This way we're behind them. We'll let them kind of duke it out a little bit, but stay close enough that we can
Oh, they're here.
jump after.
I see them.
Hopping out.
Yeah.
$27 on one, $40 on one. Okay, one team's gone.
Oh, shit. Get in.
I guess
Oh!
Oh, I fell in the water.
We got another bunker.
I don't know if we should push, like use the car to push. Oh, you don't have a sword, do you? So.
No. We got him kind of pinned. Oh, shit.
They gotta come to us, so we may not need to
Pepper
push.
him. Knock.
Knock.
Watch it. Pushing. You might want to get that sword out.
I have it out.
Go, 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 go. You got this. Oh! What'd they hit you with?
I don't know, some mythic or something.
That had to be something from like the Godzilla thing, right?
Maybe.
That was like an instant. I thought you had it because I half their shields. So, damn.
Yeah, my health was already kind of low, so. And I had no shields from sliding over there from pushing over.
Oh shit, that's what it was. Okay. I thought you had more shields. I shouldn't have.
No.
I should have followed you honestly, because he went around the rock and then shredded me.
Yeah.
That's okay.
If we had hopped in the car, maybe we could have pushed and had the extra car armor.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay. That was close.
That was a good match. I'm not disappointed. They gave me a good fight at least. Questies.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go. It don't matter. I don't care. Let's just let's go to like our usuals or something. I can do quests this weekend. I want to get some good matches in.
Sounds good.
Dude, what if they... I want other like anime characters, I think. Oh, look at that!
What?
It's Kong.
Oh, Kong's here. Yeah, that means Godzilla will spawn.
Where do you want to land? Oh, okay.
I don't know.
He just teleported. Okay. All right. Dude, that was that was fucking sick, dude.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm still going towards our marked spot.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
But Godzilla will spawn within the first storm circle.
Oh, okay.
So actually, we probably want to land a little bit faster. So maybe.
What do you think? Straight down?
Let's
Yeah.
just get us.
Straight down.
I don't know how sweaty this is going to be, but.
I don't see
Oh,
anybody.
there's a piece in the water. Wow.
I don't see anybody.
Okay, yeah, let's land here then. This kind of puts us on the ground a little bit quicker.
So if one of us just has to become Godzilla, right? What happens to the other person?
Yeah, so basically when Godzilla or the rift appears,
Someone's here.
if one of us can get in first before anybody else, then we'll become Godzilla. Are you fighting?
Yeah, someone's here. They were accurate. They were actually a person. They did hit me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know where those shots came from. Oh, I see.
I don't know how to get out.
Maybe it is a bot. No, I don't know. Dr. Gung Ho. It's probably a bot.
So we got a minute 20 before Godzilla supposedly would appear. So we need a car so that we can be ready to...
Okay, let's go do it.
Is there a car anywhere?
Probably the
Around
front.
here?
There's usually one in front.
I see an SUV over here. It's not
Yeah.
great, but
Yeah, let's do it.
it's an option.
Can it go through the window?
Let me see if there's a sports car somewhere nearby. I wonder if it spawns near where King Kong spawned.
Which was over here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's the first time because I haven't played since the, Okay, what's it showing?
Oh shit, it's right here, dude.
Next to us.
Yeah. Go, go, go.
As soon as we get there, go in.
Alright.
Go for it.
Oh shit.
Go, go, go. Oh wow, that knocked me back.
Let's go. Fuck.
No, I just gotta stay alive. Raven Godzilla. Kill everyone. Oh, I'm getting quest progress too, that's cool. For you stomping on players. Supposedly you can break through circles too with, I think, your ability.
Oh.
Ah, crap, someone shot me. Oh, someone's shooting me from behind. Sure. And you won't die whenever they do kill you, so... They beat you? No.
Nah.
Okay. Where's your buddy at? Oh, there.
They got bubble circles, dude.
Yeah. I'm knocking so many players while they're trying to fight you. It's funny. Oh, I can't do this team because that's 12 people. They're all both looking at me. Like, if you turn around, there's two people, like, right behind you.
Is there?
In the direction that I am. Yeah.
I don't see
You
you.
have to turn completely around.
Oh, you're right there.
Yeah, I'm behind you from your tail side. So yeah, you see next to the house, there's some people to the left of the house. Over by there. I don't know if you can see my ping.
Hold on, I got dudes all by here.
I'll grab one of these and see if I can. Crap, this thing is hard to...
I am down. All right, get out of there. Whee!
Okay, I don't know who got the medallion, but
I don't know.
it seemed to be in the house. Actually, the medallion's just lying there right now.
Yeah, grab it.
I know it's in the house,
Oh shit.
not near it.
There's a person right here.
Someone just grabbed it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm shredded.
Okay, that's not the medallion holder.
Careful, you got people all over the place.
Dun, 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 dun. Ah, footsteps that way.
Well, I'm glad I got to be Godzilla. That was a lot of fun. You might be able to get me right here.
Yeah.
No,
That's what I'm gonna try
watch
to
out.
do.
Yeah, that's fine. Oh, yeah, at least I got to do that. That was fun. Now I don't really care about being Godzilla again, unless I have to get a quest done. I think I got all of it done though. Let's look. Godzilla quest. Yeah, I finished the ones that were become Godzilla.
Yeah, the only thing I actually got credit for everything but the roaring, so I have to become them at least once.
Yeah, the roaring was fun. It didn't. I don't think it did too much. That was cool.
It's just to make you look cool. That's it.
I'm getting close to Godzilla. Did you really I can't speak. Did you know that Godzilla is really Miko?
Miku?
Yeah, Miku. Yeah. Did you? Same character. What colors they got for the skyline? It's pretty cool. I
was looking at that skyline bundle.
I'm not too impressed with the Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla skin. It's okay. I wanted Mothra. I don't know how they would do that, but it'd be fun.
The moth?
Well, I know they have moth. Yeah, it's the moth, but I wanted like a walking Mothra. And then you could put wings on it, you know, as a glider. Let's see. The real Godzilla is the friends you shot along the way. True. Oh. What do you got going on this weekend?
I don't know yet.
I'm thinking about, we're gonna have snow coming down and it's gonna be dropping to -10s and stuff like that. So we're staying in. But I'm thinking about playing more Pantheon Rise of the Fallen.
Cool.
That game is like super growing on me. They've been adding some quality of life stuff too. Pretty good. I'm curious when they're gonna do a server reset though. Emojis.
You know, one thing I discovered, if I have a crown, I can use the lampshade to hide the crown glow.
Oh, really? But it's already
Nobody
glowy.
will know.
I gotta go there, but we don't have to. We can go to somewhere else.
Yeah, we can go there.
Pump powder. It's the mountain quest or whatever.
Okay.
I know there's loot that way, but
We're just chilling, having fun. We'll get it figured out.
I should have killed more people as Godzilla.
You should have.
They kept on doing their stupid bubbles, dude. I couldn't get them.
I thought you could shoot through the bubbles, no?
No,
Your breath doesn't go through bubbles?
it didn't let me. I think it helps destroy it.
I thought it went through the bubbles.
I tried, yeah. Unless I didn't do it right.
I guess that's good to know for future Godzilla-ing.
Yeah, like we had to try it. I think it was protecting them because every time I shot the laser into it, it didn't get any more damage markers. So I don't know.
Maybe with your stomp? Maybe you could have stomped it.
I started walking towards them and they were fleeing after that. Yeah, the stomp would have worked. I was trying to like just kind of pinpoint a few.
We got a glider landing kind of near us. No, they went past. Okay.
All right, I'm placing another marker. I'm going to the tunnel.
Yeah, I gotta go down there to do that quest too.
There's a porta potty teleporter too that we can use. Got a Sprite for us. There's a shotgun.
Here's a mini. There's some barrels here too.
Yeah.
Fire.
Aw. It cut me short. Rifle. I went up top in the porta potty. Porta fort. Green AR. I claim this mountain, Noodle and Cat. May it forever be erect. Nothing? Cool. We're just gonna
Just so you have your moment, you know.
just gonna leave it there, you know.
Yeah, you know, I didn't want to.
Oh, here.
Your day.
Here, there you go. Have a sword.
You don't like the sword?
No, I do. Do you have a sword already?
I don't.
Oh, just take it. I have these things, the teleporty things.
Okay.
I haven't been using them, but I still prefer them, honestly.
Oh, they got pickle crates from the new pickle factory. That's cool.
Oh yeah, because this is a transportation area, huh?
Yeah.
I like the subtle changes they have in the map, you know.
Yeah.
Just kind of have to look.
Oh, you probably haven't been to the new area or the Fluttered Frogs. You haven't seen the changes there.
No, I haven't.
We'll have to go there at some point.
Yeah, I think it'd be honestly super fun doing level design for each season. Like that's pretty fun. That'd be a great job.
Yeah.
A constant rotating map, always changing different things, different ideas. Like that's what I would love to do at a game company, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that being kind of fun.
Well, I mean, like, so I mean, it's a persistent project, you know, and that's a lot of people, you know, do. Anything good? Knocking players reveals. I'll do that. Being a persistent, you know, changing game, you can always just throw so many different ideas. Where on you're on one project, and you're aiming. Oh, there's a car. You're aiming to finish that project, and then you get the next one. Shit, there's a dude here.
Oh, that's a bot, or that's the NPC.
Oh, you're getting chased.
I'm knocked.
I'm dead.
He's pretty low.
No, I was saying is like I think I would prefer to work on a persistent game, even in an MMO and stuff like that, for just constant changes, you know, versus jumping project to project and not knowing if you're going to be on that next project too, you know, with some of the contracts and whatnot.
Yeah, I get that.
But at the same time, it would probably get pretty. It could get kind of stale depending on what part of the team you are for development on a game like this. I unlocked a new there it is. Sunray. New car trail. All right, I think it's time to switch characters. No, dude. No. You know what time it is? It's Johnny Silverman time.
Oh, we're gonna lose.
What do you mean?
Didn't he die in Cyberpunk?
No. He didn't. He didn't die.
Ivy Dupler just raided with 8 viewers.
Ivy Dupler! Welcome on in.
What I mean. There it is.
Thank you so much.
No, don't go in!
Oh, that's so loud. Ivy, how you doing? Good to see you. What were you playing? Rise of the Golden Idol. Ooh, I have that game. I haven't played it though. I need to. I hope it's good. Thanks so much for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm RavenVulcans. We're playing Fortnite. I'm playing Johnny Silverhand from Cyberpunk, I guess. Yeah. And I got a bomb strapped to my back. Pretty sweet. Yeah, no problem. It's good to see you. How's the game? I haven't played a point and click in a very long time. I need to get back to it. It's a super fun brain melting puzzle game. Ooh. I need to give it a go. Mick, we can go here to finish up this quest if you want. I think I got 2 more things to put up. Or do you wanna go pink?
No, we can.
No, let's go here. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, what? I jumped.
It's fine. Here, let's do it. I won't keep you, but you got any big plans for the weekend? I might just do a lot of relaxing myself, but hope you got some good plans for the weekend. I'm gonna hit the back end over here. For everybody that raided, we got to be Godzilla in the last match. It was a lot of fun. So if you wanna watch some of the VOD, scroll back a little bit and you'll get to see me become Godzilla. This game's wild. Alrighty. There's sometimes a car in here.
Yeah. Usually at this little corner down here.
Yeah, there's nothing. We do have that. And we got some,
Alright, I gotta go post the poster on the other side.
yeah. There's a rail on the side I think you can use.
Yeah.
Alright, completed that. Whee! I don't know where this led, but... Oh, it's the top of the mountain. Oh, shit. I don't know what I need to grab. I didn't know you were. Yeah, I didn't know you were coming up that way. That's funny. Oh, there's a couple minis. Here, toss me one of those. Alrighty. What's the play? Canyon Crossing, Mass Meadows. We can go towards Shogun's Solitude. Their boss hasn't been defeated. And also the boss hasn't been defeated over... Oh, that's not... Is there a boss over here now?
No.
If we go that way, there should be some...
Mini bosses.
We could go see if we can get some movement over here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright.
we can go over.
It's a little steep. Honestly, this is
Oh, you're
probably...
going back.
Oh, are you going through the tunnel?
No, I was going towards Canyon Crossing, but you're going towards the maze. Okay.
I think, there's barrels over here. I also have a car. Oh, you marked Canyon Crossing. I marked the other one. That's funny. I didn't know we had two markers on it. My bad.
It's okay.
There is a full over here for you.
Oh, I grabbed the barrels, so I might grab this guy and just use him to top me up. Or you go with the car. I'm in. What are you doing? Wow. For everything he did for us.
I just gave him a boost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't seem to be making progress.
We got there eventually.
I keep minis.
Nani mask here.
I don't want it. I got a sword.
Yeah, okay.
So if you need it, I'd grab it.
I'll grab it for now until I get a replacement.
Oh.
I'd be able to go, I guess, to Mass Meadows.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Nailed it.
Oh, there's people over there.
Yeah.
That house. I think those are bots.
Well. Getting shot at. Oh, oh, that was sick. Okay. I need a arrow with a scope.
Oh, yeah, the hollow one.
Yeah. I'm gonna muck around in the sewers real quick. There we go. I can get a new car. Did you find a sword?
I did.
Nice. Alright, I'm back here. I would say we need to rotate either Lost Lake or we go Canyon Crossing and then up, but it's a little mountainous, so. But it could give us the upper hand for the most part. I'm thinking we kind of gravitate over to Night Shift Forest, kind of.
That sounds good.
Alright. There's a gas station that way.
Yeah. Bird station.
That's enough of that. No. Okay. It's kind of far. I'm also doing, oh shit. Damn, their shots are accurate, man. Well, we know where everybody is.
Whee! And you were worried I would dent your car.
Oh, I dented the shit out of this car already. All right.
That poor roof.
I mean, what's the point of driving around a $500,000 car if you can't, like, you know, dent it, right?
That's true. I mean, you know. Sometimes you just gotta take a chance, right?
All right.
Can't enjoy it. You're too worried about damaging it.
Right.
You see a better than green AR, let me know. All I have right now is green.
Also, hi Tofu. I thought I saw that you did the shout out, so appreciate you. I'm playing as Keanu Reeves. Are you proud of me? He has technically 2 skins in this game. John Wick and Johnny Silverman. Silverhand. Silverman.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Ooh, nice. What's for dinner? I don't know what we're doing.
I don't know what I'm doing either. In life or for dinner.
Yeah. Dude, you'll scare the fish. I'm the first person to catch a fish.
Nobody else is even fishing.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
No, come back. Come back. Ooh. Spicy braised meat with rice.
Fixed your window. So now I don't get a breeze.
Oh.
It looks like, yeah, I guess it's daylight, so I think the vault's been open. We could always check it and see if there's anything still good in it, but
Okay.
people are left.
Here, I'm gonna take the car over there. There's only
Okay.
12, yeah. Well, 10.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be on the far end here. Yeah, there it is. No. Past this. This is the graveyard. That's the graveyard, which means the vault is right there.
Has it been opened?
No. Wait, is this the vault? Yeah, this is the vault. It has.
Let's see if there's something good.
Let's see, purple AR.
I'll take this sword.
Ammo, a little bit of ammo. Otherwise, yeah, not really a lot. that a footstep? Thought I saw a footstep in the corner.
I did not, but we should head back to the car. Wherever that is. I don't remember where I parked.
Just hit the key fob. Listen for the noise.
Where the hell did I park?
I don't know.
Was it over here?
Great, you lost the car again.
I think it's up here. Hold on. Yeah, it's up here. I found it.
Oops. Somehow I jumped out.
Dude, where's my car? What's my say? That movie's so stupid.
Spicy braised meat with rice. Oh, that sounds good.
That's what they used to call me in high school.
You were braised meat with rice?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure that. There are 7 other people left.
Someone fought others here.
I did. Oh, hang on.
Someone's here.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
I'm fighting. Oh, I'm down.
I'm down too. I thought we weren't gonna fight.
They didn't look like they were good. Apparently, they are a bunch of rats that were hiding out.
Well, I mean, it would have been fine except that we ended up with one on each side, so.
Yeah.
And since I thought we were just gonna go, they had a chance to both party up on you.
Yeah. It's... I don't want to talk about it, you know?
You got duo banged.
I got duo banged. Dude, I just, you know, I like getting banged by duos, you know? What can I say? Oh, shit. Johnny Silverhand, you lost that for us. You look too cool. Okay. Does like King Kong fight Godzilla?
No, but I'm not sure I understand. It looked like he summoned, when he appeared, he summoned a bunch of stuff, but I don't know what he summoned.
Maybe he was like helping us out or something. Because I
supposedly,
yeah, I want to see like a King Kong and Godzilla fight.
yeah, supposedly. Oh, there's Mechagodzilla. He can summon it, or like he gets a banana or something you can use to do something. I don't know.
Huh.
He gives you his banana.
Listen, I don't want anybody's banana, okay? Dude, shark shoes and stomping buildings. Yes. Look at us. Look at us go. Stomping a whole goddamn city. It's so ridiculous. Oh man. You pick. Doesn't matter. Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. We'll land where in one of our favorite spots, so maybe we'll win this one.
Yeah, we haven't dropped here yet.
No King Kong. Wait, no.
Damn, that's like, yeah, we've only got one match like that. But 2 Godzillas and 2 of our matches. One of them
Yeah.
that I got to be, so not too bad.
Yeah, the first 3 matches, 2 Godzillas, that's pretty crazy.
And almost a win. Almost.
Almost.
Long stretch.
Yep, we're getting there eventually.
Yeah, it's no different than some of the house drops we did in the last chapter. This map does feel longer though. Or maybe not.
Oh, you think it's a bigger map?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit longer and a little bit more larger. Just by a hair.
Yeah. There's a green hollow here if you need one.
Go with that for now. Oh, you skipped a good chest up here.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I must not have seen it.
Yeah, we'll do that for now.
Is the only car around here?
There's usually one down by flooded frogs or a little bit past.
Yeah. Sometimes there's a sports car there. Too.
Remember to shoot the enemies more than they shoot you. True. Footsteps.
Yeah.
Someone's here.
Oh, I see him. Knocked.
Their buddies over
Don't know
here.
where they're. Okay, we need to see if we can find an Oni mask. We can get into the secret room.
I have a fire Oni mask.
No, other teleporting one.
Oh, okay.
You notice that it's been drained in the center?
Oh yeah. Let's see if we can find one.
Oh, that's another fire mask. Dang it.
Any sure fire masks don't work?
No, because you can't teleport.
Oh, I see.
There's a crack in the wall we have to teleport through.
If I could actually jump up here, that would be great. Forever stuck down in the sewers.
Okay, I'll come back for you.
Did you find one?
No.
Dude, they usually drop like candy. What's going on here?
I don't know.
Oh, I found one.
Found one?
Yep.
Okay. If you come to me. And you need to teleport through here.
Whoops. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. And then you can destroy the thing on the side. You can't break it. Loot in there and then destroy the statue to your right.
Oh.
Or whatever that is, and then go in there and there's a whole bunch of loot in there.
You want me to drop the teleporty thing for you?
I don't know if you can drop it close to the crack, I might be able to
here.
grab it.
There you go.
I got it.
Sick.
Yeah, there's a ton of loot in here.
Oh, look, you can get a mouse too. Or maybe that was mine.
Yeah, it might have been yours. There's a purple AR there. It's a ranger weapon though.
I got a legendary.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fucking shoved you aside.
Yeah, you didn't like me.
Alright, where'd I park? Dude, where's my car?
Your car's not here. My car is here.
Oh yeah. Dude, where's your car?
Sorry, it's not as nice as yours. It's probably worth about a fourth of yours.
I like your car. It's nice. It's no McLaren, but it's nice.
My tires are nicer.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I like them.
Okay. Do you still need a sword or anything?
I have my teleporting mask.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm kind of carrying like I'm carrying some good stuff. I got a legendary laser rifle as well.
Oh, the railgun.
Yeah.
I can not really hit somebody who's moving with that.
Yeah, I'm not doing great with it, but it's been fun.
Hey, it's great versus vehicles. It does a lot of damage to cars.
It did 1 damage.
What the heck did you hit it with? Yeah, did you charge it up when you fired it?
Yeah, it did 1 damage to that Jeep. You can clip it.
Oh no. That sounds sus.
It showed 1 hit point removed from that truck. And I flipped it over.
Maybe because nobody was in it.
Oh shit, someone shoot me.
Stop getting shot at. Where are they? Oh. Well, I mean, you got that dude.
Yeah. I kind of melted his face. It's
Go
fine.
back to the car.
He got melted, you know?
Okay, where do we have a gas station? We've got one here. We'll get there. That poor guy. I mean, he was alone, I guess.
I'm pretty sure it was a bot.
No, that was a good player. You take that back.
I mean, you know.
He's heading one.
I did state on Discord that we're gonna shit on kids as Godzilla, but I forgot that Godzilla needs to be unlocked. There's still a chance for it.
Oh, yeah. The first Godzilla you have to gain 12 levels for.
Yeah.
Something happened here. Grab some of this ammo.
Dang, look at all this loot.
I know. The last gas station we went to was not a good experience, so.
I mean, that's been a running statement for most of our games over the past couple of weeks.
Not really a lot going on right now.
22 people.
Yeah. Don't know where we should go from here.
Mountain. Can't see where fights are going on.
That way. Oh, there's a fight behind us. Let's go take a peek. Go past. Don't see the gunfire anymore, so. Oh, car.
They're down. Oh god, they shredded me. Oh, wow. Mecha Godzilla has a sword. He's coming for you. Goodbye, Mick.
Ah, damn it. Got one of them.
Dude, they were out for blood. They were out for blood. That was so good. My favorite clip so far has been that one guy with the sword that while you were trying to res me, I'm like, you're gonna die, and then he cuts us both. That's it.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. I feel like the guitar or the bass, sorry, is throwing me off a bit. I'm not myself without a sword.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Oh, it's matchmaking. I was going to say the shop should have updated.
I don't see anything new.
Ariana Grande again?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I can get some
Oh, they
you
got
can get some Justin Bieber songs. That sounds fun. All right.
We're gonna win this.
We're gonna do it.
Oh, okay, we got to do. There we go. Yeah. Moral boosting.
La, 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 la. I jumped through a window. All right, where do you want to land? Here?
Yeah, sure.
We've done pretty good here. Weeks ago, but
I was just wondering what's going on. I was like, why are there so many sweaty people?
I mean, it is launch day for Godzilla, so
Yeah, true. Kids get, they're back from school. They're like, Mom, Godzilla's in Fortnite. I gotta play.
Ma'am! Now they're more annoying. I gotta play Godzilla with my pop icon.
I don't have Godzilla by day one. All my friends are gonna make fun of me.
Probably would. Honestly, I'd make fun of the motherfucker that didn't get Godzilla on day one. I'll laugh at myself later tonight.
About to say.
No!
Oh crap, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. Not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
I might have laughed if if you would have gone down.
You know what? I would have laughed too. And that's okay.
Those damn snipers.
Exactly.
Oh god.
The ray guns, they're horrible.
I might have did the same thing.
Man, Fortnite's getting stingy. We're starting at 80 health.
Weird. What's this little marker over here?
Oh, that's the Sprite. Or Sprite. They're now marked on the map.
Are they?
Yep, he's up here.
Oh shit.
Let me feed him the shotgun. Give me something good, Earth Sprite.
Wow.
Oh,
Hey,
that's not bad.
give me something good.
I'll take it. I have a lot of A's for some reason.
Hey, have you seen my shark shoes?
No. Oh, digging through my
Aw,
inventory.
gross. Oh,
You can only
shotgun.
do it once.
That's okay. I'll take it.
He's like, I already gave you something. How much food do you expect me to eat? Godzilla! What the heck? Oh, he is way over there at Seaport.
Why did you have to say it like that? You were like, Godzilla!
Well, it's like the old Japanese movies that are translated badly.
Yeah.
It's Godzilla! Run!
You're the only one in this chat that can do that right now. I don't need to cancel myself, okay? I need weapons.
Oops. It's gonna grab the bunker.
And probably tofu too.
Oh, I don't have any shields. I need shields. Okay.
Oh shit! We better, here, hold on, I'm coming.
We gotta book it. He's down. We're not. I don't think we're gonna be able to do enough damage to get the medallion at this point. It's too far away. But if we show up, we get some easy kills from people trying to.
Yeah.
Godzilla.
That's all I want to do. I want to kill people while they're fighting Godzilla. I saw a few fights when I was Godzilla, and they were wiping each other out. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, I was running around and.
Yeah, I saw that
people
too. It's pretty awesome.
What's on that mountain?
Yeah, that mountain up there. Careful.
Oh, he's already at half. Yeah. So usually, Could be some boxes dropped in. Oh, people are all
Oh, dude,
around
he's
us.
attacking the city. That's amazing.
Spawning right next to it, yeah. I'll say there's definitely some boxes everywhere, but I think I don't want to be that exposed. There's the loot crates. Oh, there's one.
Hey, let's grab that. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. I got instant down.
I think there was a player there.
There's a person right next to you, by the way.
Yeah, I saw him. Somebody else shooting at me. Oh, and Godzilla's already dead. Alright. See a reboot van, but I don't know if that's gonna be safe.
Yeah, you're being chased right now, I think.
So.
Good luck and glob speed.
Wait. There we go.
Right? Dude, every little event in this game I love. I love when they do stuff like this. It's so cool. I'm trying to think, like, I think they had one robot one that happened like a couple few, I don't know how many chapters ago, a while ago.
And towards you. Okay, we gotta get out of here. Find a new car, that would be good, because this is out of gas.
Hey, we're getting good momentum. Keep on going.
Oh, we're done.
That's all she wrote. You have any guns? Oh,
Oops.
it's a no, I guess.
No, I actually only have one gun.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Oh, shit.
no bunch of utility at the moment on me.
Come here. There's a Sprite. Why aren't you getting any?
I am.
Oh, you're healing. Shit.
Yeah. Health
Here,
first.
grab them again, yeah.
Oh, I can't
Oh,
use
shit.
them right now. We gotta go. Oh, no, we don't.
Yeah, we're
But
good.
we should go.
Yeah, we should go loot somewhere real quick.
Yeah. Why he's on cooldown. Oh, okay, he's done cooldowning. Yeah, let's use
Yeah.
him here. I don't even have any ammo.
Sometimes you just have to teabag a Sprite.
I didn't need to know that. You need to know what you're doing to those poor little sprites. Where are we going? I don't even know. We had a good landing spot, but then Godzilla spawned in and it was like, go get 'em! Anything in this house that looks like it's been looted? Well, no, not completely looted.
Oh, thank God.
Oh.
I found stuff. There's some barrels down here.
Okay.
I do have the Sprite again, so here.
Okay, let's go to, I don't know, I was gonna say Lost Lake. Oh yeah, we gotta get out of here, those circles coming
Yeah.
towards us.
gives a damn. Person in front.
Where'd he go? Oh, outside of him.
Seemed like a bot.
You don't want that.
And he should have stole my car. Ooh, that's a legendary. Take that. Oops. There we go. Aw.
Broke. Wow. You ran him over and he bounced underneath the car.
Yep.
I heard that. Night Shift Forest, maybe?
Yeah, I would say maybe the vault.
Yeah.
Looks
see if
dark
it's
over here.
open.
Yeah. I gotta change it. Ooh, shit. Anything?
No. Never seen anything.
Nah. Nothing
Maybe
good.
health kit. I'll
Yeah.
grab the health kit as backup.
Oh, she's not here.
She's not at this one, then she'll be at a different one.
Hmm.
There's a couple different spots over here she can spawn.
Car near us?
Yep.
Oh, don't flip. Don't flip. Thank you. Oh, lots of footsteps. Okay.
Yeah. And I do not have much AR ammo, so...
Yeah, I don't think we're ready for a fight.
Oh, there they are. Oh, there's someone there.
We're almost out of gas.
Gotta find somewhere to loot.
Oh, it's back there.
It is, yeah.
There you go.
I say Boyd's right there.
AR.
Oops, I should no, I don't have anything I wanna drop for him. Well, I'll drop the health kits.
Oh no. I don't think we're gonna make it.
Almost.
Oh! There was a hill and everything, dude. Oh.
Get out and push.
I mean, oh, there we go.
There's another car. Okay, someone's been here. There's a blue Ranger Assault there. No scope on those though.
It's better
Looks
than
like
this green one.
somebody's got most of the ammo out of here. Oh, here's a box. Look at they didn't loot this side. Good ammo.
Over here. Another box. Hey, this place has toilets. Look,
Yep.
there's chicken. This is how I want to eat, dude.
Let's see, there's a chest in here.
Where do you want to go? Circles are closing in, fighting each other. Shogun Solitude, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, all three medallions are out. Wow.
Yo.
Okay.
Want to let them duke it out. How much you want to bet someone's here?
Well, 12 people, so we can assume those are 3 teams, so yeah. That would give 3 other teams out somewhere.
If no one's here though, we're gonna loot and then we'll stay here until the final circle goes. Shit.
Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe right here?
How this circle's gonna, once the circle ends.
Yeah, this is not a good
Where it's gonna
spot.
move to.
I don't think anybody's here. Alright, cars in the canyon thing.
Yeah.
Alright.
Oh. Shooting?
Where?
Oh, that was you. I saw the little...
No, I was just using the sword, yeah.
Yeah. There's a purple fury. You have to step in the storm now to get it, but... Oh, there's another purple fury right there. Getting no scope on that. It's pretty close to us, actually, the circle, so... Not too far from it.
Hmm.
Your health is... You took some health damage.
Yeah,
We'll make sure you smash it.
What?
Smash the barrel!
Where's the barrel?
Oh, I said if you see one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know there's... Like, where's the barrel? Alright. Oh, shit. Oh! Oh! We got somebody nearby where the car is. If you want to make it back to the car, we can start moving.
Okay, I'm heading back. Oh yeah, gold
Watch.
circle here.
Watch the cliffside.
How's the other 2 circles? Yeah, all 3 medallions are still up. That's crazy. But there's only 7 people up, so...
We're about to get in a fight.
Maybe. Maybe not. Because there's 4 teams, 3 of them have medallions, and then there's us, and one of them is a solo. No, there is a gold circle next to us on the left.
Oh, fuck.
Oh crap. Back up, back
Oh,
up, back up.
I couldn't get out. Alright, I gotta heal up.
Okay, hang on. Oh yeah, I was gonna splash us. Yeah, the car just can make it. I mean, somebody's gliding next to us.
Yep.
That may even be the solo player.
Probably is.
So he might be trying to revive.
Here we go.
At that revival spot.
I have
Let's
a...
try to stick together because, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna hunker down in houses and stuff.
Nope. So it's a team and a solo besides us.
Someone has a gold circle too. Two of them.
Yeah, one of the medallions is dropped out there in the storm. Godzilla's circle's that huge medallion circle, so
Oh, okay.
I think that's Godzilla. And the other one looks like, I think the other one's the island. So that would be the invisible person. Where are these
Someone
splashes?
landed on the mountain. They're on the other side of this city.
Okay. I don't know where the circle's gonna move next. Not that chest that's out there.
Hmm.
I don't know how safe it is.
Not too safe.
Shark shoes make me sneaky.
Yeah, dude. That's why I wear them.
Oh, looks like they might be getting in a fight. Oh, steps next to us. These stairs don't really hide us.
Nope. Oh shit. They're reviving. They're up here.
Oh, is this the solo person?
Yeah, I think so.
Did you say?
Yeah. No.
Where are they?
I don't know.
Oh, they're right next to us.
Solo.
Yeah. Oh, that was Godzilla's medallion.
Let's grab it.
I got it. I have no idea what it does. Oh, somebody's shooting from the mountain. Oh, crap.
Yep.
We gotta get out
Yep.
of here. Crap, 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 crap.
They fell.
What's that?
They fell. They're right here. Oh shit. They're invisible coming up on you. I see them.
Oh, but the other one's still upstairs.
Yeah, he's peppering you. That sucks. Bunker yourself again if you have to. Oh! Oh!
Damn it.
They had the high ground. There was no way.
Yeah,
There was just no way.
we were at a disadvantage.
All right. One more game. And then I gotta go.
Hi. Who should I skin as?
Indeed. For it is Meat Man time. Nah, I don't want to be Meat Man. Let's look at Raven. I don't know. Should it be Meat Man?
If you wanted to be Meat Man.
No, because we gotta win with the shark shoes. The Meat Man can't wear the shark shoes. It's
Oh, that's true.
he has to show off his feet, you know?
That is true.
All right. Meat Man next time. How about that? When'd you get that one?
Which one?
The My Hero Academia girl.
Oh, when did I get her?
Yeah.
I don't know. She was on the shop a few days back or something. like
Okay.
that. I think last weekend, actually.
I need to really get back into watching that show.
I have never watched it.
Really?
No.
Oh.
I only bought it because of the emote.
Oh, yeah, she's a
But I was just
psychopath.
kidding. I know.
Yeah, okay. I'm just
I've seen a mention of her in videos and stuff like that.
yeah.
Or memes.
Ooh, you got it. Cool. Cookie's been getting these little miniature book sets that comes with like little bookshelves, and it comes with full books that are like miniature sized, and then you can take a magnifying glass and actually read the book if you want. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
I have enough vision problems. I don't think I need something like that.
Yeah. They come in the little balls or whatever that are like gotcha stuff. Yeah, sure, why not?
Oh yeah, the little capsule.
Yeah.
Thingies.
Yeah, and they're like, there's different layers to them or whatever. Different bags or whatever. Pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a place over in there's a Japanese supermarket over in Plano that has a little area where you can. They have a whole bunch of those machines.
So do you want to go to Whiffy Wharf or what? Or are we going to the island over there?
I usually start on that left island. There's the tanker over there, and then sometimes there's swords in that little patch of trees, pink trees.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
That tends to be one of my landing spots.
Oh, there's some
I do
people
see a
here.
few gliders coming in though. And there actually is a sword also on the edge right there.
Dude, what the hell? The menu music is just playing in the background right now.
With music?
My menu music.
Oh,
The groove beat one, and it's just playing in the background right now. Like, it should have cut off already.
that's weird.
That is very weird.
Okay, there's a shield tanker here.
It's gonna drive me crazy. Hold on. There we go. I killed the music. I was like, why do I hear cowbell, dude? Hold on.
I know, I'm
Hey.
waiting.
Hey.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Okay, let's go to wharf.
Hold on. There's some loot over here.
Okay, fine. I'll go to wharf then.
There's people there.
Well, it'll be your fault if I die because you abandoned me for loot.
I did it. There's literally loot here. We needed the loot.
Why is somebody watching me? An
I don't know.
eyeball on me. There's a sword here. You need one. There's a blue chest here.
I missed that. That's cool. Oh, I'm gonna get there
Oh
eventually.
yeah, somebody's in the water. Where are they? Oh, that looks like a bot. Pretty sure I saw the default
Oh, the
pickaxe.
turtle's over here. He moved.
Yeah, he moves.
You good?
Yeah, that one was a bot. Which is good because I kind of sucked at shooting at him. I felt like a bot. Yeah, he moves around map. Where did, oh, there's a kinetic sword in the under. Godzilla again?
Hell yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, he's next to
down
us.
at night shift.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll get there in time.
Nah, I'm not really worried about it.
We'll just yeah. We'll
Everybody's gonna be focused on that. We can loot up and we can, you know, like sneak up on others. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it could be used as a good Oh, here's another sword.
Yeah, I've got one. Feel free.
Good distraction. That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah. He is spawning a lot. I'll have to just get lucky. Be next to him. Or a little bit closer, I would say yes, for sure, but... Yeah, someone just got in.
What's called moving? We can jump out of here.
Yep. Oh, there is a car on the beach, too.
Dang, that storm's moving fast.
Oop.
Going to gas station.
Okay. I'll meet you there.
He's dead.
Already? Dang.
I think so. No? No, he's still alive.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say you were up pretty long. So.
Yeah, I felt like the first Godzilla we fought he went down really fast. I think it's because everybody had good weapons, but when I was fighting everybody, like, it took everybody forever.
Yeah. We need to go somewhere. Let's see. Flooded Frogs is gonna be in the storm. We can go to Lost Lake. You want me to try?
I didn't know who wanted to do what.
That doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I can drive, you can drive. We can crash.
There's somebody here.
Where? Oh,
Yeah, getting shot.
I think they were in the bush.
Yep. Oh, okay.
What the?
Sure. I thought I fucked up, so. They really need like skill points with these cars because I'm doing some crazy ass tricks, dude. Straight in front of us.
Oh, yep.
I'll take that. He was instant, yeah? No, he was crawling. Never mind. So his buddy somewhere around here.
Yes. No, did Godzilla just go down? No, he's still up. Oh, I see him. He's at the end of the train area. Down here.
No,
I did
he's
see
dead.
somebody. Oh, there he is. Godzilla's down.
You saw it, dude, though?
Yeah.
Oh, I see him.
Oh, is he running away?
Yeah. I'm going to get the car.
Okay. Well, that's fine. He can run.
I don't think he got his buddy's card.
No.
I believe I can drive.
I don't know if he was just scoping out and he saw us and
Kinetic.
yeah, I have one of those. They're okay. I definitely like the Typhon Blade better.
Yeah. That one, it is nice though, like for traveling. You can do some good damage when you're charging towards them too. But, I don't know. Oh, footsteps.
Oh, this is a bot. This is just a weird sword as far as how it attacks. Yeah. But yeah, the movement on it is definitely its strongest point. Oh, I was like, what are you doing?
You know, just emoting on kids. It's fine. Making them cry.
I need some health. Oh, there's some barrels.
Just flexing. There's another person here. They're in this area.
Oh, I see them. They're back here. That's definitely a player.
That's not good. I don't have any shields. Behind us. Peter. Peter!
Shields? There's one. Biggie for you. Oh, there's a cart over here. Cool.
Damn it.
You fighting someone else?
No.
Oh. Still in the circle. Demon Jojo's circle is down. I don't see Godzilla's medallion.
I don't think they picked it up. I think he died in the storm.
Oh, you think so? That might be true.
Yeah, I think he died in the storm.
I see it. It's down here. Like, I didn't see the big gold circle, but I do see the medallion now.
We could try to go get it.
But why is it just sitting there? No, someone just picked it up, I think.
Okay.
But I don't see the
Yeah, it's
circle.
gone.
That's what's throwing me off. Yeah, to the east, we do have the demon circle. Yeah, it keeps getting dropped and picked up, I think.
They're
Or maybe it's
baiting.
just
Yeah,
sitting
no,
there.
they're baiting.
Yeah. Somebody is baiting, right?
Yeah, they're probably baiting because they're really good at it, you know?
Okay, the island boss is up. We can go to the gas station over here.
They're probably a master of picking that up with their baiting.
I can't facepalm while I'm in the car. It won't let me.
Oh shit, there's a circle. Whee!
Yeah, I told you the circle was there.
No! Get in!
Oh, crap. Go, go, go. Wait, where'd you go?
Go, go, go! Oh, so stupid. Oh, there's more teams here. Of course there is. Get us out of this city. Oh, no.
No,
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Where you at?
I'm like going out here. I had the kinetic sword. Are you okay back there? I'm coming back.
No, I'm fine. Hold on.
Are you in a car? There are footsteps all over you.
Yep. They don't know I'm here.
Or wait, where are you? Are you down?
I'm
underneath?
in Central City. I'm
Yeah, I'm here near you. I'm up in one of the buildings.
There's a guy that's has a portal right next to me. He's gonna teleport back.
I just got pinged. Crap, I gotta get out of here.
I'll join you soon.
No, you're fine. Trying to see if there was a vehicle or something that I could grab.
Dude's dead.
Yeah, but there's a whole bunch of people in there. Oh, the gold circles are here. Shoot. Godzilla's circle is here too. I don't know if you're able to get towards me or not.
I'm on the opposite side.
Okay.
I'll try to
I will
link up
sneak
back with
around.
you. Yeah.
I'll sneak around. I should be able to. With the
Woo! Meet at the
Blade.
gas station.
Okay. I'll head that way. Godzilla's medallion's down. I don't know that really means their owner's down, or if they just dropped it to... I feel like they dropped it to try to
Yeah.
aid someone.
Told you
I
there.
see a car there. Don't know if somebody
Shit.
in it though.
Gas station is. I'm linking back up with you. Someone's at
I
the
only have
gas
one more
station.
use. Okay.
Yeah.
See a car here. Nobody in it. Okay.
I mean, back with the video. Yeah, grab that and then pick me up, and then we're gonna rotate out of here. There's somebody at the gas station, so beware.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go this way. I did see a Sprite over here, so we could get some shields. Maybe? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah, let's grab them. Let's do. Oh shit.
Ah, never mind. He ran away.
What do you
Okay,
think?
we gotta go left.
You got fancy stuff. Shields.
Yeah, those are useless to us. Here. I do have one big shield pot. Go ahead and use that.
All right. You want to drive? Your car.
Yeah.
Gas station's that way. I don't know.
There really isn't a good spot for us to go. What are you shooting at? Oh,
Knocked. His buddy's over there. 24.
yeah, I don't want to go all the way out there. Still 7 other people up.
Hold up.
There's another car coming.
He's cracked. Shit. Get in the car. We're rotating. Go. Go, go, go.
Another car.
Circle moved. We gotta go this way.
Hey.
I'd go ahead and get out that way. I think the other team's near the other one.
Nope, no shields.
So
Yeah, I
we
was
got
trying
from
to
firing over by the
see if
gas
we can find
station.
some shield. Here, let's grab this car. It'll refresh.
Eat it out of it.
Yeah, you did it into the storm.
Yeah. I was like, oh no. Oh shit. I saw fire come from this direction, but maybe I'm wrong. Oh, over here.
There? Oh, I do see some people moving up in the distance, but
Saw somebody that way. Storm's pushing them. We gotta go.
yeah, we're okay for the moment. Still 5 other people. 1 gold circle. Very small, so maybe 1 person with several medallions. They don't have the demon medallion. But they have Godzilla in the other one, I think.
They're in the storm.
That's kind of why I want them to maybe have to
Go.
fight. Go across the lake here. keep an eye out. Oh crap, I'm shooting. Wanted to grab that spirit, but... Are they coming?
Yeah. Knocked.
Gold Circle died in the storm, it looks
Yep.
like.
Team of solos.
No, it's...
No, I downed one. I downed one player. So
Oh, is it just one person left?
there's 2 people left, but they're solos.
No, it's a duo. There's 2 teams up. I looked at the map.
I
It's
downed
a-
one of the
it's a
guys.
team.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's a team.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's low.
Oh, they got a rocket launcher. Be careful.
Yep.
One's knocked.
Where's his buddy?
I don't know. They have to still come towards us. We're probably gonna have to move too.
Car.
Okay, go.
Everything right here.
Yeah. Oh, there he is. Gonna go.
I'm down.
Push.
Fuck, dude. Careful. You got this, Mick. Sword. Yeah. Oh. I don't know how I got drained so fast, dude. That was wild. Oh, that was a fun match, at least.
Knockbacks.
That's okay. I'm sorry we didn't get that win.
We should have had that win.
It's all good. It is what it is. We'll get that win later this weekend or tonight, maybe. Oh, well, that was fun. Thanks for the games.
Yeah.
You should play one more and win without me. Because apparently I am trash.
You are not trash.
I'm trash. I'm trash boat.
Just bad luck.
Yeah, it was bad luck. It was. I should have. I don't know. I think we should have used the car and rammed them a couple times. Oh well.
Maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know.
We could have dropped a shield a little bit. You could have jumped out. I could have jumped out, and then we could have teamed up with the swords. That would have been it. Oh well.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining. I might be. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. I might do a stream, but I'll let you know if it's Fortnite or something.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, dude. Later.
Bye.
Alrighty. Let's close this game. Dang, dude. Close. That's okay. We got a really good win last stream when Mick and I were playing. Okay. Chat, thank you so much for joining me today. Hi, Raven. Oh snap. Let's go raid Freedom Smog. He's streaming right now. Yeah. Game Genie, send us out, dude. Chat, have a lovely day.
Okay, chat, here's what I want you to do. We're gonna go raid Mr. Freedom Smog. And I got all these lovely We Are the Conspiracy emotes. Sorry, got something in my throat. Oh, God. Yeah, copy and pasta those things. We Are the Conspiracy. If you're not a sub, get the Dorito one or whatever. Here is all the socials that you need to follow to, further RavenVulcans show. And, yeah, that's about it. You guys have a lovely rest of your day. We might see you later this weekend. And, if not, Monday. Bye!
Chat, have a good one. Go say hi to Freedom for me. We'll catch you later.